Mothers, we can't live without them. As Mother's Day approaches, I want to share the story of an organization that is helping mothers do just that, rebuild. Since 1982, Red Door Family Shelter has been helping women and families find safety and rebuild their lives. But they can't do it alone. Today, we're going to sit down with Red Door and understand what brings families to their door, what it means to rebuild, and how we can help. Heather, thank you for taking the time to meet with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
It's greatly appreciated. Tell us a little bit about the families that come here to the Red Door and what brings them here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have quite a range of families that will come and stay at Red Door Family Shelter. We do operate a family shelter and a gender-based violence shelter. So the story of a family that comes to us is different every single time. We have women and children who are fleeing violent situations. We have families that are new to Canada and are seeking refugee status, and a lot of families who are facing a housing crisis because the cost of rent in Toronto and outside Toronto is astronomical. So a lot of families that come to us are just very much at the worst point in their lives, and they need shelter and support.
So what does rebuilding look like for a lot of these mothers and families?
Yeah, so rebuilding can mean a lot of things. So if it's a family who's recently been in their own place and had to deal with eviction, it's helping them find, a more affordable spot, a community where they can be with their children and get them into schools and back into the support systems that they may have previously had. If it's somebody that's escaping a violent situation, that can mean, finding a safe and secure community where they can thrive and get into the thick of things and back into their lifestyles. So it really varies depending on the family, but we do everything we can to support the families who come through Red Door and offer that support even after they've left the shelter. So outreach services are a large part of what we do.
So what are some small but meaningful things that can be done to help families that are just starting over?
Yeah, so for our families, if they're starting over in a new apartment or a new house in the city, helping them get that place set up with the things that you and I easily have accessible to us. So that can range from food items, setting up a pantry with spices and cooking oils and those sorts of things, but also the staples of a kitchen, the staples of a bedroom. We need new pots and pans and plates and cutlery, blankets, all the things that you really want to have in a new place to make it feel like home.
I am just I can't believe that how much needs to be done. That's where I'm off camera right now. When I listen to you, it's and I see the storage room, I'm like, there's how do you even really get enough to do that? How many women and families do you usually have at one time?
So we have between the two shelters 156 beds, and those are always occupied. At any given time, up to 60% of those are occupied by children. So we have a huge need for support for children, and in setting up those households, that you want a kid to be in a home where they have all the necessities they need to thrive, to do well in school, to make friends, to be part of a community after the trauma they've suffered.
And what are the ways that you are is it purely through donation and through, I guess, corporate sponsorship that you raise money and collect these things for the families?
Yeah, it's completely due to community support. So corporations and groups like yours having drives that collect these items to put into new home packages that we prepare for families. We don't have funding for that side of the services. We're funded for shelter, for food, and for the programming we provide, but being able to set up the families with those packages and those necessary items is only possible because of corporations and groups.
So you said something that made me think about this in terms of how we can help the most. So you're funded for food. So really, non-perishable food items aren't top of your priority. It would be mostly other things that actually make a bigger difference.
So when I say food, I should have said meals. We're funded for meals, 3 meals a day, and school lunches, school snacks, that kind of thing. But the non-perishable food items, we receive no funding for that whatsoever. So it's completely community donations, schools and groups running drives to bring in, like I said, those spices, those cooking oils, those basic things that you need in a kitchen to be able to provide healthy meals for your family.
If there was top 3 things that you need, what would they be?
Top 3 things, just food or any of the items?
Any of them. I'm just curious. At this point, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So, I mean, the food items I've mentioned. So cooking oils, sugar, spices for non-perishable foods. But for household items, we really need new plates, new pots and pans, and cutlery. We don't accept used items at the moment because it's a bit of a kind of a gamble sometimes whether or not it's too used. And I mean, think about if we're setting up our own homes, we would prefer to have new items as well, and so do the families that come through Red Door.
Is there a story or moment that really captures the impact that Red Door has on mothers' families?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the unique opportunity to speak with quite a few mothers and fathers as well, because our family shelter does have some fathers at the end of last year. And one story that really stuck out to me was a mother who grew up in Canada, got married and moved abroad for a bit. And during that time, she had 3 children, and her husband was emotionally and financially abusive. For her at the time, she didn't realize that those were types of abuse. When most of us think of abuse, we think of physical violence, but there's so many other ways that people are affected. 4 in 10 women in Canada have experienced such violence.
I can't believe that statistic.
And that statistic is only including what's reported. There are far more women who are affected by this and haven't, had the safe opportunity to speak up and to say something about their situation. So this particular mother, she and her family moved back to Canada. And at that time, she realized that, I'm not in a safe situation for me and my kids. So she was able to get into Red Door Family Shelter and get the supports she needed to, one, realize the impact of her situation and how it was, traumatizing her and her kids, to be able to get the supports to deal with that. She was able to get support to start school over again. She's in a program and is graduating next year. And now she and her kids are in a safe place in the community where they're all doing really amazing. And I saw her again after speaking for the first time, and she's doing great. She still comes back to Red Door to access our outreach services, which includes that food bank that we've been talking about. So that food bank is a lifeline to women and families like hers who, are back in the community, but still need that little bit of extra support to keep going and to thrive in their new spots.
It must feel amazing to see the difference that you're making as you see them. I mean, I can't imagine even what that would feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've said, no family that comes through the doors of Red Door is the same. There's different situations that bring them here, but they could be a family member. They could be, your neighbor, your colleague. There's so much abuse and trauma that goes on in any community, and we are here for the people that have experienced that, and hopefully we can support them on their journey.
And how do you know by chance how many mothers and families and husbands that you've helped since you opened?
Yeah, so it'll be in the thousands. So Red Door, when it opened, was one of the only family shelters in Toronto, and now we are the largest. Last year, we served about 276 families, and that family can be anything from one parent or caregiver and a child to 2 parents and up to 5-6 children. And that is increasing as things get more difficult in the city. The cost of rent, the cost of food, all those things. So definitely, since we started in 1982, thousands of families have been helped, and we have had also the opportunity to speak to a lot of those women after the fact. Most recently, there was a tattoo parlor in Mississauga that reached out. They wanted to do a fundraiser for Red Door because one of the owners, when she was a young mother, accessed Red Door and stayed here and was able to get a place, get back into the community, start a business, and she wanted to share her story. So we hear things like that quite a bit, and it's very humbling to hear the impact of what Red Door does.
I love that. Like, everybody needs a hand sometimes.
Yep, everybody needs a hand, and like I said, it could be anyone. When we talk about homelessness, we often say, everyone is kind of one paycheck away, or could be one paycheck away from ending up on the streets. And imagine doing that when you are potentially a single parent with children. It's extremely difficult. So when we hear about families that have, come out of that for the better, we really want to share those stories.
What would you say to someone who wants to help but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, so that's a very common question. We all want to kind of give back in our communities in ways that we can. So specific to Red Door, I would say if you want to help, reach out to our amazing in-kind coordination team, Malvika, to find out what's needed, because that does vary throughout the year. I mean, Christmas time, we have an amazing initiative to make sure that every single child in the shelter gets some sort of holiday gift, and we throw holiday parties, and that is completely donors that, purchase those things. But if you're looking for a way to give back, honestly, reach out by email, reach out on social media and see what's needed, because those food banks that we run, as I said, are completely community donations. So we're always in need of in-kind food items. And those housing packages that we set families up with, we have families moving out all the time. Whenever possible, we get them into, places in Toronto that are good for their situation, and they need those staples, that cutlery, those plates, those household items. So if someone has the opportunity to run a drive for those, or has, the financial means to purchase those, that's a really great way to help Red Door.
And I mean, you mentioned Christmas time, and I love that. You inspired something in me there. Are there other times of the year that are really important for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because we do serve a lot of women and children, Mother's Day is a huge time. We want to make sure that we recognize the sacrifices that every single mother at Red Door has made to make life safer for her children. So we are often in need of items around that time to make sure that we're giving something back to these women who have done so much and are taking the steps needed to be safe.
And what about like Thanksgiving? Is that another?
Yeah, so around the Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course, we love having, donations for people to be able to make the turkey, the stuffing, all those kinds of things. I spoke with a woman who's been out of the shelter for about 6 months, and at Christmas time, she made a turkey for the first time ever. Had never done it, had no idea what to do, but she was able to get a turkey through our food bank and made a holiday dinner for her family for the first time. And she was just absolutely happy and amazed to be able to do that. And that is because of donations that come from the community.
I want to say thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I can tell just by how you're sharing this with me, how committed you are to this. And it's really inspiring, and you're making a huge difference.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about what Red Door does and how the community can help. We have a great amount of support in Leslieville and the entire city of Toronto, but there's always something needed. So thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
It's our pleasure. As you heard, the smallest gesture can go a long way in helping a mother who's starting over. That's why we're having our Mother's Day drive, collecting essentials like diapers, personal care items, and non-perishable food for families being supported by Red Door. Our collection day is May the 8th, and yes, we will come right to your door if you're living in one of the neighborhoods that we're covering. Click on the link below to make sure your area is covered and register for a pickup.